first time we tried to bring this back,
It's a little premature.
we had a child, you were hospitalized, and we thought, okay, it's coming back. We're bringing this back.
Yeah.
We're good. And then everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong.
Pretty much.
So we're going to talk about one of the aspects that went wrong today. And I have a feeling it's relatable.
Yeah.
Anyways, welcome to While She's Napping. I am Adam.
And I'm Cindy.
And the worst thing that happened was that the Bills have a new tier on the belt being 13 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
There was Wide Right. Then there was the Music City Miracle. Then there was... What else was there after that?
I only know Wide
God,
Right.
so many. Music
this
City
one.
Miracle. I'll show you the video.
Okay.
That was rough. And now there's 13 seconds.
Yep. It was
And
so Bills.
the thing that I love about that game, and we'll get to the topic of our experience with COVID in a bit, but the thing that I love about that game is it proved to me that deep down you enjoy football. You enjoyed that game. I don't
mean,
know anybody that watched that game that did not enjoy that game.
Exactly. You just disproved your own point. It doesn't mean I like football. It just means that was an incredibly good game.
I don't know that you can get that kind of electricity
I was
in
like
any
that
other sport.
during the Raptors championship run too.
It's rare,
And I've gotten that way about baseball.
but
It's
not
just-
like that.
Okay. I mean, I wasn't the one like passing out on the floor. That was you.
Josh Allen is my daddy. And he's significantly younger than me.
Yeah.
Not significantly, probably about a decade, but
It was impossible not to get sucked into that game. There was just so much back and forth and so much, so many ups and downs. And it was, I mean, I don't think you have to be a sports fan or a football fan to get sucked into a game like that.
so the plan was to talk about tragedy and travesty rather in sports.
Tragedy, I think is a good word.
Sure. Mental anguish
Yeah,
in sports.
which is how you were feeling the next day.
And then we got COVID.
Right.
So a lot of time has passed since that game,
Yeah.
and I've been able to stomach it.
Yeah, it feels like a long time ago.
So I think now it's better that we talk about our experience with COVID because, I don't like to harp on COVID a lot because it's such low-hanging fruit.
Right.
And a lot of people get sick of talking about it, let alone, hearing about it.
Yeah.
But I think because we went through it recently, along with 70% of the country, we have that. I mean, at least I do. I have the attitude of I'm tired of it because I went through it. And after going through it, I'm a little bit more emboldened to take risks more than I used to be.
Yeah. Don't bury the lead.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel like the reason why we decided to just go ahead and talk about it, even though we've tried to, not harp on it too much on other episodes. I think it's a combination of what you just said and the fact that it seems like there's a new chapter of the pandemic
Well, people
right
don't.
before us. Like,
People want to escape it.
yeah.
When listening to
well, I
the
feel like
show.
people have. Oh, right. Yes, I know
what I
you
mean?
But yeah, but it feels like we're on the horizon of. I don't want to say we're like nearing the end of it or anything like that, but I feel like there's, people are, states are dropping mask mandates. People are kind of. It seems like we're moving towards the endemic phase.
Well, that's okay. It certainly feels that way. But the CDC is saying, pump your fucking brakes.
I know they think it's a little early, but I think it's going to come soon from them. They've been behind on a few things.
All right.
Like they did the same thing with the booster shots.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
A little bit of, I don't want to say house cleaning, but behind the scenes, I'm using a new microphone.
Oh my God.
We now finally have the same microphone.
Yeah, you
We're
were jealous.
both using Electro Voice RE20s. this is what happened during a snowstorm and you have COVID,
Shopping.
I'm just like, I think I'm going to buy this $450.
Oh my God, you were back and forth about it for the entire day. Literally, like every 20 minutes. Should I do it? No, I'm not going to do it. All right, babe, I'm going to do it.
Shout out to Sweetwater. Shout out to Sweetwater for all the cool gear. And they give you 2 years, no interest finance, right? Which is great.
Mm-hmm.
It makes
and they
paying
call
off.
you right away.
Called me right away, asking me if I, sure you want to make this purchase? Not they're doubting my purchase, but like, hey, we just want to let you know we're getting it packed up for you. Should be out in X amount of days.
Did you find everything you needed? Yada, yada. Yeah.
What are you using it for? Do you need any other equipment? They're really cool. And they send you candy.
Wow. I didn't see any of this candy.
Yes, you did. I
What
gave
candy?
you some.
What was it?
It's just generic shit. They give you like these a couple Tootsie Rolls, those little sweet discs that come in a stack. It's like they're not sweet tarts, but those like generic
Okay.
like discs.
Sugar discs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah.
And they're in like a transparent plastic roll sleeve.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Smarties?
No, they're not Smarties.
Okay.
Maybe they
anyway.
are Smarties. I don't know. They give you those. They give you like a chunk of caramel.
Cool.
It's like, here's some candy from Sweetwater
Yeah.
for your purchase because we're sweet,
Got it.
But, so I'm using a new microphone. So the point of that is if it sounds a little off, I'm still, trying to get the specs
Mhm.
narrowed down here.
Yeah.
Anyways, so let's talk about this.
Okay.
I assume you want to take the lead on this one.
I mean, I guess so. I guess anyone who's been listening to us for, any length of time, and we've only started doing the podcast right about the time that the pandemic started.
Yeah.
So I think we've been pretty transparent about our feelings towards the pandemic this whole time. And it's no secret to anyone who knows us that we've been on the more conservative side of the spectrum in terms of how we've handled things. Like
It's a dangerous word when we're talking about COVID.
You're right. Our risk tolerance has been pretty low.
Yes.
We have been very careful and have tried very hard to avoid getting or spreading COVID.
Yeah, my 2020 self would be pissed at me right now.
Or shocked, I think. Like we went out to breakfast this morning indoors.
We've done a
at
lot more
diner.
than that since getting COVID.
Oh, I know.
Since recovering from COVID.
Right. We're like,
say.
to me, I feel like we need to like squish it all into like this 90, 120 day, time frame. I know, maybe it'll be longer. We'll see.
Get
but
there.
we definitely do feel like a sense of, in a way, it's sort of a sense of relief that like we can kind of loosen up a little bit and take a little bit more risk because it's very, very unlikely that we'll get reinfected now.
I will drink all your fuckers droplets. Just
Gross.
put them in a towel and squeeze them.
Gross. Yeah.
Wring it out.
Okay.
Drink them all.
Disgusting.
I got hashtag super immunity.
Yeah. Right. So
They should have never, ever
coined that
released-
term.
You're vaxxed, you're boosted, you got it, you're fucking indestructible.
Yeah.
And, spoiler alert, that is how I feel
I know.
when
I
it
know
comes
you
to
do.
COVID.
I know. So I do think it might be a little bit more complicated for us because of, we're going to talk about the fact that we have children under 5, including an infant.
Fuck that. That's
in a
where
little
we got
while.
it. No, I'm kidding.
Right, I know. They gave it to us, little fuckers, but hey. Yeah. So let's talk about how we got it. So our older daughter, our almost 4-year-old, brought it home from daycare.
After dodging it
Like this whole time.
3 or 4 times before this.
Right. She's been quarantined, as a close contact several times. So her classmates tested positive. She had been around them. And we do know that she's one of, if not the only child in her class at daycare who has consistently been wearing a mask throughout the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a miracle to me that she never got it because there were a lot of kids who were testing positive in her class at daycare who don't wear masks. But yeah, she avoided it for this whole time. We did pull her a couple of times when cases were really high, like this time last winter. She wasn't at daycare. We pulled her from like Thanksgiving till
No, she was.
Easter.
She was there. In 2021?
2020 going into 21. We
Oh,
pulled
you're
her
right. Yeah.
at Thanksgiving because there was an outbreak. There were like 3
You're
cases
right.
in a week, and we kept her home until Easter.
Mm-hmm.
So because it was cases were so
yeah.
high through the winter. But that was really hard because we were both still working and trying to juggle having a toddler in the house with us. And I basically was down to a part-time schedule that whole time, and that was just not sustainable. So having just come back from maternity leave, I couldn't take more time off.
Way.
Like it just
No.
wasn't an option. She had to go back
We
to daycare.
We knew it.
Yeah, because of the situation, I went back to work on January 3rd, right after the holidays. They went back to daycare. It was our baby's first day. That day, they were exposed.
There was an outbreak.
Yeah, there were several positive cases.
Sorry, the baby was not exposed.
No, our older daughter was exposed. And there were several teachers who had tested positive just because they do routine testing on the way into the school every Monday morning. And they ended up like not having enough staff. They had to close the whole school because so many teachers tested positive, plus several students.
Yeah.
But she dodged that. She didn't end up testing positive, even though she was exposed that first day back after the holiday break.
Didn't they shut down for 10 days or something?
The whole school shut down for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because of the teacher shortage. And then, so yeah, I made it back one day from maternity leave, and then they were both home
for the remainder of the week.
For the rest of the week, and
couldn't get any
and
coverage.
They had to get tested. Right. Well, we didn't want to have anybody over because they were quarantined, close contact, and we didn't want to spread it if they were positive. So yeah, no childcare. My first week back from maternity leave, and then they tested negative. They went back to school, 7 or 8 days, however many days later. And they were back for like another week and a half or so. A week. And then our older daughter started just sneezing. That was her only symptom.
On a Tuesday.
On a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday, you're right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she, on Thursday morning, which happened to be picture day, so I had to plan all the outfits, had them all dolled up, the whole to-do.
Yeah, if anybody happens to be listening, parents of the daycare that we send our child.
That was us.
That was us.
But as frustrating it was for picture day ended up getting canceled as a result of our daughter testing positive because now so many kids had to go home and quarantine. They didn't want to have the picture day and have so many kids miss the opportunity. Yeah. So they rescheduled picture day. I know that was frustrating for a lot of parents because this was the second time that it got rescheduled. But hey, that's COVID,
I don't care.
I know.
Sorry,
and
don't care.
I mean, would it have been better if we had let her go to school while she had symptoms and not have her tested?
She would have got sent home
and then
anyway.
She would have. She was only sneezing. She only had one symptom, so she probably wouldn't have. She had no fever. I'm saying according to the rules of the daycare, you have to have 2 combined, unless it's like fever, loss of taste, like the really telling symptoms. If it's, you only need one of those. But if it's a more mild symptom, I don't feel bad
because they're rescheduling the fucking picture day.
I know, this is totally secondary. But anyway, we were very cautious to even ask them to test her that morning, just for something as simple as a few sneezes.
Would you say prudent?
Yes.
Yes.
Responsible.
Yes.
Yes. And
she didn't even walk in through the fucking door.
No, we didn't even get out of the car. She tested positive immediately on a rapid test. It was like 4 minutes before the second line came up.
Yeah.
And so then that day they also immediately gave me and the baby a rapid test. We were both negative that day. The next day, our older daughter was really sick. She felt awful. She was feverish. She just kept saying how terrible she felt. She had all the normal cold symptoms. She was super congested, coughing, all of that. Deep cough. She just wanted to sleep.
Remember,
she was
they're
just
unvaccinated.
Crying all day.
Both of our children.
Right, they're under 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our older daughter has no protection because at least with the baby, I was vaccinated while pregnant and I'm breastfeeding.
And you were boosted during pregnancy.
During breastfeeding. I got boosted at 6 weeks postpartum.
Oh, no. That's right. Yes, yes.
Boosters weren't authorized
You're
yet.
Right. You're right.
When I was still pregnant. So
you got your second shot while pregnant.
Right. I got both doses.
Oh, both. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck do I know?
You don't know.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, and I was trying to sneak some breast milk into our older daughter's milk or chocolate milk. But she was on to me. She said it smelled weird. She wouldn't. Sometimes she'd drink it, sometimes she wouldn't. She said it smelled like bad avocado. I don't know where that comes from, but I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, I'm not trying to speed you up here, but The end result is the oldest child got it, brought it back, and the whole house got infected. There's no way we could have isolated our house is, I don't want to say it's too small.
No, but they're too young to isolate
Right.
from us.
We
We always knew that if one of us got it, we were all going to get it.
It's a ranch style house, right? So where's she going to go?
It doesn't matter. They need us.
Right. But we've heard advice of try to isolate the infected child as much as possible.
Not for children that young.
It's impossible. So we treated it like the chicken pox. Basically, is all right. We're all gonna get it.
Yeah,
and this
she was
is
like
it.
Coughing right in my mouth. Like it was
yeah, it's buckle down time. We all and
we braced. We went out for all the essentials that day before either of us tested positive.
Yeah, because we tested too. The
Friday
following
morning.
day, and we all tested. Well, two of us tested negative. So
we stocked up
had
on,
a sore throat Friday. And we stocked up on everything. And I thought, if this is as worse as it's going to get, because remember, I'm vaccine boosted at this point. And I'm thinking, all right, this is, to me, mild.
Manageable.
This is mild. And that's whatever. It's a mild thing if you are vaccine boosted. And I said, this feels mild to me. This is good. I can get through this. And Saturday, same thing. I felt the same. I was like, all right, I can do this. I can do this. You felt like shit.
Yeah, Saturday I had a fever and I felt like shit.
Yeah, you yacked.
Oh yeah, I was up all night Friday into Saturday throwing up.
Yeah, and still, I can do this. Saturday, kicked my ass.
Sunday,
sorry, yeah, kicked my ass. It felt like an anvil.
You
was
were in
on my
bed
chest.
literally all day.
And I was dizzy. I had sweats. I thought I was gonna vomit. It lasted from what I remember about 2-3 in the morning all the way to 5 in the afternoon. And I was okay.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah, it passed pretty quickly. Like we all had like one day.
We had a wave.
Yeah.
And still banged out my push day the next day.
Yeah.
Did some chest. For me, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I attribute that a lot to being vaccine boosted.
Oh yeah, it could have been. So I was convinced I was a lot worse than you because I had my bad day of like fever, chills, vomiting, whatever on Saturday.
Correct.
And then I felt much better on Sunday.
Yes.
But I still had this lingering congestion and cough.
Yes.
And that never went away. I think we can attribute that to the fact that you still had to work. So starting Monday, you had to go back to work, and I was home and taking care of 2 sick kids while I was still feeling under the weather myself, and I couldn't rest. And I have asthma, and that congestion sat in my chest for a week, and I woke up again the following Saturday. So now a week after my initial sickness, with another fever, and even worse than before. And it turns out I had pneumonia.
Yep.
And I had to go on antibiotics for 5 days, and that was the worst part. That was really scary.
Listen, you want to talk about father-daughter bonding.
I know.
Did a lot of that.
Yep, with both of them.
Well, there's only so much you can do with the baby.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying, the baby's not going to remember that bonding time.
No, but it's still important. Anyway.
I'm not saying it's not important. I'm saying, there's... You feed her, you put her in a bouncer, and then she naps.
Sure. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Whereas the oldest wants to play all the time.
Yeah.
So...
Well, yeah. So for me, I kept thinking the same thing. Like, if I hadn't been vaccinated and boosted, I'd
be dead. I'm thinking I'd be dead.
I don't think so. That's a little dramatic.
I feel like I would.
You had a fever for a day.
Okay. Also, dudes out there listening.
Man COVID.
I talked to a lot of my friends, a lot of my dude friends, and they asked me, they said, is it worse than the man cold? And I said, in the moment, yes, but I'd rather have COVID for a day than the man cold. Here's why. I'd rather have COVID vaccine boosted for a day the way I had it, me personally. I'd rather go through that for one day over the man cold, because the man cold fucking stretches out for like 6 days. It comes in all these phases.
What the fuck do you think I went through? I was sick all week.
I'm talking about my experience here.
No, I know, but so you're admitting that I basically had the man cold.
No, you had pneumonia, which is a tier below the man cold.
Below.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Mm-hmm.
There's no medication for the man cold. At least you got amoxicillin. Is that what you got?
Yeah, and a Z-Pack.
There you go. Can't do that for the man cold. But for the man cold, it starts off with that, oh fuck, here it comes, feeling like the day before the cold. And then you get the sore throat for like a day or two. Then you get the stuffy nose. And then You feel like shit for 3 or 4 days, and then it's the exorcism of all that stuff coming out of your body.
You realize you're describing a cold.
No, it's different.
You literally just described every fucking cold I've ever had in my life.
No, it's different.
It's not.
It's different.
Oh, you're right. The difference is I don't act like I'm dying, and I actually still like take care of stuff.
You guys need to chime in. It's different, and there is actually scientific proof. There is a scientific study. I'll find it. It was published, I think, in either Scientific America or the New England Journal of Medicine or whatever, saying that men experience colds more severely than women. It's within the DNA.
Well, women are built to endure childbirth, so that makes sense.
I'm just saying, if given the choice of going through this again or replacing it with the man cold, I'm taking this again.
Okay, you can have it. I'm all set.
Of course. Of course.
And
Would you take this for one day, no pneumonia, over a cold?
No, because it was worse than a normal cold. It was like the flu. I had a fever, chills, vomiting. Plus, I had cold symptoms.
You'd rather have a cold for 5 or 6 days.
So I'm trying to tell you.
No. You said we just talked about it. You had it for like a day, and then the next day you felt all right.
I had the fever and the accompanying fever symptoms for a day, and then I had a normal cold for the rest of the week. I had the chest congestion, the sore throat, the cough, all of that for the next 6 days, and then I woke up with pneumonia.
I digress.
Yeah.
Point
anyway.
is, yes, you had something serious. It was. I don't mean to minimize it. I tongue in cheek here.
I know.
It was scary. It's scary to see your wife have pneumonia, and I'm in the phase where I'm like, all right, I need to fucking buckle down. Mm-hmm. That's the mode I was in. Is you need to rest, because all I can think about is what I would want to do, and in my mind, if I were you, I'd say, everyone leave me the fuck alone. I need to be in my bed. Do not talk to me. And
that's basically what I wanted, unless you were going to come offer me something.
Or give the baby to you to feed it.
Yeah, which was, difficult. Because I was so dehydrated.
If not, I'd give her the bottle. But,
yeah.
So that's my attitude was, the door is shut, mommy's away. Even though you're not, but mommy's on vacation.
But our older daughter understood because she had just gone through it. You just kept saying, mommy has the yuckies.
Yeah. And, luckily you were able to get the medication. Shout out to your best friend for dropping it off because we couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
So shout out for the medicine and
twice.
The Gatorade.
She went to the pharmacy for me twice.
No, I appreciate it. We very much appreciate it.
And brought me Gatorade.
Yep. But you bounced back like a champ. And I don't mean to minimize anything, but we nipped it close enough in the bud for you to get medicated and
right. If it had gone on any longer, it could have been bad. And in my mind, I was just like having PTSD about being in the hospital with preeclampsia. I'm like, I do not want to go back to I was in the emergency room 3 times during that whole saga. And I was like, I do not want to go back to the emergency room. I do not want to be back in the hospital. Like, and I'm like hesitant sometimes when we're talking about our experience, because I feel like there are going to be those people who are like, oh, so much for your vaccine. Like, oh, look how sick you got. And I want to be like, right, but I could have been in the hospital or I could have been dead. Because I have asthma, because I have an underlying condition where we knew that my lungs were very vulnerable. That's why I was so, on it to get vaccinated and boosted as soon as possible, because I knew that it could be really bad for me.
So coming out of this, while in it, especially with the kids or our oldest testing positive first and knowing that our baby was going to get it.
Which, side note, she did, and she also had a fever for a couple of days and has
a deep cough.
She was coughing and stuffy, so the whole
smiling
kids don't get
the whole
it.
Way through
yeah,
it.
she was a champ about it, but I was surprised that we all were so symptomatic after the whole for us being vaccine boosted. It'll probably be very mild. You might not even know you have it. You might be completely asymptomatic. You might just have a runny nose for a couple of days. And same for kids. Like, most kids are asymptomatic or just have a runny nose. But that was not the case. Like, they were just as sick as we've seen them with a lot of other things, if not a little bit more.
So in fairness, minus the cough with our baby, it looked like a cold.
Well, normal cold, you don't get a fever, and she ran a fever for 2 days.
Visually, her symptoms that you could see, you would say, she grabbed a cold from.
I know. It's just, it was also it was super anxiety inducing, just because this was her first time ever being sick. She's only 4 months old.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that it just sucks to see your baby sick, and especially when it's their
terrible.
first illness.
Especially when they can't communicate with you.
Right, so helpless. Yeah.
So the silver linings that I was trying to grab, same with family members that had similar experiences. I don't want to, speak for them, but I remember saying to them, "Hey, at least when this is over, at least after when your 2 weeks pass, you can just do whatever the fuck you want, right?"
Well, and we can interact with them pretty comfortably. We have
interact with
several
anybody
family
we
members
want.
who had it right before or right around the same time that we did. And now we feel like, including families with young children who can't be vaccinated, and we were kind of like hesitant about them interacting before without masks on. But now, yeah, we all kind of feel like we're in the clear. We're in this like bubble of recently infected
we can
people.
we can do what we want. We can, for us, in terms of our comfort zone, we can.
Well, and I feel like because we've been so careful all this time,
we're just like, fuck it.
I'm like, this
go.
is the time. Like,
Yes.
if there was ever going to be a time where our risk was as low as it's basically ever going to be, like, our risk is never going to be zero.
And
like,
fortunately for us, when we got it in January, that bleeds into the spring for our natural immunity, quote unquote.
Right, our like 3 to 4 month window.
Right into the spring where things take a downturn in
hopefully.
terms of...
And hopefully the kids' vaccinations will be on the horizon at that point too.
So we went out for Valentine's Day. We went to a packed restaurant in Rhode Island. And
a small restaurant.
We should note that Rhode Island is dropping all mask mandates.
They did that day. The night that we went out was the first day.
Nope, it wasn't. The next day was.
No.
Saturday was. It ended Friday. So Friday was the last day.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well,
masks were no longer required on
Anyways,
on
no mask requirements in Rhode Island. I do think that they are still required for children until
schools until March 4th.
4th. So we went to the restaurant, and I remember parking the car right in front, and I said, "There's not a mask on in anybody."
Nope.
And that was the last time I thought of COVID, masks, anything. I sat down, and I didn't think of it once.
I know.
I didn't think of...
I was surprised too. I felt like I was going to have a hard time, like easing back into some sense of normalcy and like not feeling anxious. But and I guess it must just be this mentality of like, I literally just had it like 3 weeks ago. I'm not going to get reinfected. The only caveat that I've been told, and I was told this by our kid's pediatrician and a couple of other people, that it is possible to get infected again with another strain, even if you recently were infected. But my understanding is that like it's something like 99% of cases right now are Omicron, and that's more than like that's obviously what we had. It's pretty much the only strain that seems to be in circulation right now. I don't understand how we could be exposed to another strain.
Yeah,
this point.
I'm not concerned.
And if there's a 1% chance, I'm all set. Like I've been.
We've invited people over. We said, just come over. It's cool. Like, don't have to test.
No
beforehand.
rapid tests.
Nothing.
No,
come over. And
well, I will say though, we are still pretty much only with the exception of children under 5. We're really only interacting with vaxxed people. Still.
But even if we didn't,
I mean, that still makes me a little uncomfortable.
It doesn't make me uncomfortable because we're not going to get anything. We're not. And we went to breakfast this morning, and I remember saying to you,
because I mean, like, there's probably a lot of unvaccinated people in that restaurant we went to.
We don't know.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to you, feels like 2019.
Yeah. I mean, I guess on the other hand, we really don't have any unvaccinated people in our lives at this point. Pretty much everyone that we would want to interact with has gotten vaccinated.
Get fucked. No. No, we didn't. But it's...
No, I think the few people we had in our lives who were hesitant have come around and have been vaccinated recently. So there's not really anybody in our life that we have to make that decision with.
My point is now, as a result of this is why I say 2020 Adam would be pissed or shocked. It's because I do feel we're at the point, especially when children are eligible to be vaccinated. So the 6 months, 5 years gap, or 6 is 4 years, right? Because if you're 5 right now, you can get vaccinated. So 6 months
kids who are
to 4 years.
Yeah.
Once that is put in place, I feel like it's game over. Not for COVID not existing. I'm saying for protocols, for mandates. I'm thinking gloves are off. Take the risk.
Not in every situation.
Not in every situation. You're right.
I think mandates should still be in place for people, for things like healthcare workers and daycare workers and stuff like that.
I'm saying for the
which isn't different from any other disease, though.
right. I'm saying the vast majority of the population, in terms of public interaction, like having to wear a mask at a grocery store or something.
Right.
I think we got to do away with that now, especially when the kids are eligible to be vaccinated, because if the vast majority of the population in America, I'm speaking for, is eligible to be vaccinated, the small percentage of those that can't be vaccinated because of some immunity, I don't know, underlying disease or what have you.
I don't think that's really as much of a thing. It's more of, I mean, there might be. I think they're probably,
a very, very small percentage.
Right, but more
of people.
so, it's I think people who are immunocompromised who can get vaccinated, but their vaccine isn't as effective because they can't. Like, if you're taking an immunosuppressant medication for another
Sure.
condition that you have, your vaccine isn't as effective.
Again, I'd argue a very small percentage of the population.
You'd be surprised.
I'm saying it's.
I personally know like a handful of people who fall into that category.
I don't doubt that you do, but I'm saying,
so, that's a
in
lot.
terms of
if
the
every
population,
person knows 5 of those people, that's a lot of people.
My point is, I think Omicron was sort of that was COVID's last hurrah, I feel.
Oh my God. I know what you're saying. It's just, it sounds
it's
cold
because ripped through the population.
I know, but don't forget the cost. So I think there are people who are like, well, now we're getting close to whatever would have been what we were looking to get to with herd immunity when the vaccines first started coming out. Right now, it's like between the number of people in the country who are vaccinated and the number of combine that with the number of people who have natural immunity from an infection, we should be at a pretty good place.
I think we are.
I don't disagree with that. I just don't want to lose the perspective of look how many people had to die for us to get there.
Oh, no, of course. I'm not
It didn't have to be that way.
No, it didn't. You're right. I'm not trying to undermine the lives lost.
Cost of us getting to this point.
I'm saying right now, in the beginning of the pandemic, Fauci was like, hey, we're looking at around 70% of the population to be...
That was a guess.
You're right.
A well-educated guess, but a guess.
He, according to the CDC, 73% estimated to be infected by Omicron. That does not include vaccination.
Well, some people are probably both vaxxed and were infected.
Or some are just vaxxed.
Right.
Probably a small
but
percentage.
Still, we know at least 73% of the population has some sort of immunity.
Which, according to the educated guess, reaches that threshold.
Right.
So my point is once you're able to get a vaccine and you choose not to, the vast majority of the people that are not vaccinated are those that are choosing not to. My attitude is, I'm not fucking protecting you anymore. I'm not. I'm not.
I get it. I know. We're all burnt out from protecting. And all along, I feel like even regardless of the fact that I'm asthmatic, and so I always felt like it might hit me a little harder than it otherwise would based on my age and the fact that I'm otherwise a healthy person overall. And like our family is mostly would have been considered low risk. Small children, younger, healthy people.
With the exceptions of our parents.
I'm talking about our immediate family.
Yes.
Just us and our kids.
Yeah.
But we have still tried to do our part to protect other people. Like, especially early on when mask wearing first became a thing, it was mostly
and stuff,
to protect other people, which is still true. It does help if everyone in the situation is wearing a mask, but now we're moving to like N95s and KN95s, protective masks. Yeah. But early on, we were just wearing like cloth masks that protected others.
Right.
It was never with the intention to protect myself. And we've been operating under that for 2 years now, and the fact that now it's just it's willful ignorance. It's like
they're not going to change their minds.
Right. At this point,
and I'm not going to protect you anymore.
There's no right.
And they're not asking me to.
Right.
The
only people who are asking us to are healthcare workers.
Right.
Who can't keep up with the hospitalizations.
And the hospitalizations, if they're going to creep, if they're going to get overwhelmed, it's because of the unvaccinated. And there's nothing I can do.
I get that. I know.
To change their mind. And I'm sorry, I'm not.
The frustration there and why it's not a personal choice problem is because when the hospitals are overwhelmed, it affects every single person in the population, because then you can't get care for anything, not just COVID.
I think what I'm trying to say is once this vaccine is available to pretty much the entire population here, specifically in the U.S., because that's all we can think of. Or sorry, that's all we can base this off of.
I know what you're saying.
We we can't go out of our way to have these protective measures for those that don't want the protection.
I get it. But if the hospitals are totally overwhelmed, and even though I'm vaxxed and boosted or up to date on my vaccines or whatever, and I'm likely to not end up in the hospital, if I'm positive and asymptomatic and I give it to someone else who will end up in the hospital, then I've contributed to the problem of the hospitals being overwhelmed.
But they were going to probably get it anyway because they're not vaccinated, and I don't know that you can go back to the mask mandates.
Maybe,
I don't know
or
that
they're
you can go
elderly
back.
and vaccinated, or they're immunocompromised and vaccinated, and I don't want to give it to those people.
But the vast majority of the people that are overwhelming the hospitals are those that are unvaccinated.
You're right. I understand that. I guess I'm just saying I don't want to contribute to the problem.
I feel you.
But I feel like we're just going to have to cross that bridge when we get there.
So I guess it's just a paradigm shift in my mind, and for how we look at this, or at least I do. Look, if I'm required to, for instance, at the daycare we send our children, they still require us to wear. I'm gonna do it.
Of course.
I'm not the type of person. I'm not turning into an anti-masker here.
No, not at all.
I'm more of a. I'm not fucking protecting your unvaccinated ass anymore.
It's just that, and our risk tolerance has changed because of our personal situation at the moment.
Right. If you want to take the risk of getting it while unvaccinated, fucking be my guest. Good luck.
Especially if you hadn't had it before.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. And I mean that.
Yeah.
So my attitude is we've sacrificed 2 years. Our oldest is, we were lucky that she was only 2 when this happened, or 1.5 when it first happened, because she was at the age where she's not understanding the world around her. She doesn't understand what she's not missing because she hasn't experienced it before.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's easier to keep your child from having those experiences like birthday parties with a bunch of people and stuff when she didn't really have those before. We were taking it away mostly from us. We weren't really taking it away from her.
Of us not witnessing her having those experiences.
Yeah, I can imagine it for children 8, 9, 10 who had those previous years of experiences of birthday parties and
our kids in high school who were like in 10th grade when it started, now graduated and missed everything.
We're taking that away from you. I can understand how that's harder on a parent than what we had.
Yeah.
It was easier for us. So right now, my attitude is we sacrificed 2 years of that with our child.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing that anymore because now she's at a ripe age of these are going to be meaningful experiences for her, not just for us.
Yep.
Those photo ops and stuff were for us to look back on and say, hey, remember this? Because she doesn't fucking know. Right.
And for all of the, concern and I think the legitimate concerns about some of the effects of like masks with kids and stuff and I experienced it in terms of the one time we went to the store and I took my mask off on the way out. You were waiting in the car with her.
Yeah.
And so when I got into the car, I wasn't wearing my mask anymore. And she was like, Mommy, you forgot your mask. And she was like really concerned. And because, she wears it every day at daycare and so do her teachers. But on the other hand, she has never said that when she's interacting with someone else. Like if she goes to dance class, she has to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
If she's at school, she's wearing a mask. But if she's home with us and we have people over, if her grandparents come over or we go to play with her cousins at their house, she doesn't say anything about wear people's masks. So I feel like she's very like adaptable to the situation. And part of me at first, I'm worried about not masking her anymore at daycare and stuff. And then having to reinstate that if mandates come back in the fall or the winter. But I just keep telling myself like she's going to adapt just like she has in every other situation.
Very quick. And, from my experience, from what I don't want to say learned, but from what I've seen of kids and parents that have these strong anti-mask sentiments with their kids, you're influencing your kid to have those views, right? So especially the young children, they're like, oh, I don't want to wear my mask. First of all, you're just being a young kid. Most kids, I can understand that. Like, oh, it's uncomfortable. I'm trying to like pull it down. That's just what kids do.
Or it's just something that's distracting and they're just playing with it.
Parents will use that as an excuse. But, oh, my fucking kid, see? But if you have these strong unmask our children sentiments,
what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, they're gonna be influenced by that, and they're gonna go to school and say what you say, which is, oh, masks don't do anything. And maybe that was true of Omicron. Granted, I maybe that was true because
I just think it
for most people that didn't have N95 masks.
Right. I think it just illustrated the importance of the layered approach of mitigation, which is like people need to be vaccinated, boosted, and everybody involved needs to be wearing a mask or So I think that's what happened.
Do you have anything left to say about our experience?
No, I think we've already kind of bled into the second half, so we can
Okay,
just
all
move
right.
right
So let's
into
take a break here, and we'll get to what you think of
Yep.
this. Hang tight.
All right, so so that was our personal experience and a little bit about how we're kind of approaching things now that we've all had COVID. And we wanted to get a sense of, how everybody else is feeling, given that it does seem like there's a little bit of a shift happening with mandates dropping and stuff like that. And a lot of people that we know who also were recently infected
Right.
over the last couple of months. So we asked how many of you have had COVID at any point in the pandemic. And
Has anybody ever heard of COVID?
we had one person who I love dearly who misread the question and they answered yes to have you had COVID? And I sent them a text and I was like, wait a minute, when did you have COVID? Because I had no idea. And they told me they misread the question and they thought it said, have you ever heard of COVID?
Have you heard of this?
And they were like, yeah, I thought that was a pretty dumb question. Anyway,
Let me school you.
That gave us a laugh.
Let me learn you.
So I was a little bit surprised by the answer. It was only 37% said yes, they have had COVID. So there's still a good number of our followers who have avoided it, which is kind of impressive. I feel
That you
like.
know of. Dun, dun.
Yeah, right. And so although of those 37% who said yes, they've had COVID, 63% of them had it during Omicron.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
that makes sense because I feel like a lot of the people who said they've had it are people like us who were very risk averse through most of the pandemic and were very, careful. And then when Omicron happened, it was just unavoidable. And I also know a lot of these people, the people who answered that way to this question, who we are friends with, I know that a lot of them also caught it from their kids who brought it home from school.
Yes.
So it wasn't because they let their guard down and started like going to concerts and dining indoors and everything all of a sudden and got it. It was a very similar situation to ours. So yeah, that tells you something about really how intense the Omicron surge was if the numbers weren't enough to tell you that in the first place. Yeah. And so of all of these people who answered it, we asked, have their feelings changed about the pandemic? Recently, we didn't really give a specific timeline. We just asked have their feelings changed given, the fact that things are starting to change in terms of mandates and restrictions. And so this question was a lot closer. It was basically 50-50. 47% yes, their feelings have changed. 53% for no. So it was pretty split. I had a feeling that was going to happen because it depends on kind of how you interpret that question, and it depends on what your feelings were beforehand, like which direction you're going.
Right.
Were you not as concerned about COVID and maybe now you're more concerned because of the Omicron surge and because of so many people are getting sick? Or have you always been very risk averse and now you're kind of like ready to loosen things up a little bit? So because we knew that question would be pretty close, we asked people to just tell us like open question box, tell us what your feelings are on the pandemic right now. And we got a lot of really good input. So I think I'll just start with, what my favorite one was. This person thought masks indoors in crowded places should still be a thing for at least for the time being. But otherwise, fuck it.
Yeah.
That was the quote. Like, it's just, that to me just illustrates the exhaustion. And again, this is a person who I know has been relatively careful, like pretty risk averse, and just finally got it during Omicron because it was really hard to avoid it. And now they just feel like, what else can we do? And that's the other thing too. I feel like we did everything we possibly could and we still got it. That doesn't mean that what we did wasn't worth it, I wouldn't have changed the way that we handled it. I'm glad that we got it now. when we were vaxxed and boosted and our family was all vaxxed and boosted, because we did give it to at least to one of our family members. And yeah, I don't regret anything about the way that we handled it, but it really is just exhausting. Like, we can't live like that forever.
Yeah, I don't want to downplay or disrespect anything this person said, but it seems sort of like there's more of an emphasis on the second half than the first half. I understand
Maybe.
the prudency of, hey, we should, mask up large gatherings. I think that would be beneficial. But otherwise, fuck it. I think more people are leaning towards it. Just fuck it.
I think that gets at the like again, we're totally just like speculating on this person's feelings besides what they actually said, but like I feel like it's very similar to us. Like, the personal risk tolerance is higher now. Like, you're more willing to take on risk. But when you're in a situation where it's a crowded indoor space and you don't know the vaccination status or the health status of the other people there, it's still prudent to mask just to make sure.
My attitude right now is, then don't go.
I know. But
then
that's
just don't
also
go.
really unfair to ask.
I understand. But especially
it's a lot easier for me to wear a mask than to ask someone who's immunocompromised and has done all the right things.
Totally get it.
To just live in their lock up in their house for the rest of their life.
Totally get it.
That's not fair.
I hear what you're saying, but that's also the vast minority of people compared.
I understand, but you never know.
I know you never know, but that is up to you to assess the risk as an immunocompromised person. That is not up to me.
I understand. And I think once we reach like a true endemic phase and the hospitalization, because I think the thing for me is that if someone in that situation, say an immunocompromised person who's vax boosted, has done everything right the whole time.
Gotcha.
If that person is willing to take some level of risk in order to, live and have a life, if they do get it, as long as, to me, I would just at least want to know that those people can get the health care that they need if they get sick.
I hear you.
And right now, we're not in that.
So
we're not there. I mean, we're close. I feel like it's improving, but the experience I had with when I went to the ER several times after our baby was born just illustrated to me, like, if you show up to the hospital for anything, you're not going to get the type of care that you normally would.
I hear you.
And it's to no fault of the healthcare staff.
And this is where I know it's not going to happen. But again, because of COVID, everything was reinvented. Everything was reevaluated. Everything had a paradigm shift. It's time for the hospitals and the healthcare system to do the same for those that are willingly unvaccinated.
And affecting everyone else.
We can't keep going through these surges of hospitals being overwhelmed because of the unvaccinated and turning away otherwise responsible people. And if that's what's happening...
Right, and unvaccinated people going to the hospital and infecting hospital staff who are then out sick and can't care for everybody else.
There needs to be some sort of adjustment and reevaluation of how to handle those situations. I don't know the answer.
I know.
But there needs to be some.
Well, this is a huge ethical question.
Well, hold on. Also, going back to that person that's immunocompromised, so there was this thing in the Rhode Island Reddit page of when the masks mandate was ending, and it was saying, look, some people are saying, this is a good thing. If you feel uncomfortable, you continue to wear a mask.
But this gets back to the whole, like, it's not as effective unless everyone is doing it.
So here's what I'm saying. If you as an immunocompromised person want to go to a large gathering and you feel uncomfortable, you wear an N95 mask.
I understand that, but then that person can't eat or drink. They can't, there's still a lot of things that they can't do safely.
I mean, you could do it, but...
And never mind those types of people who have kids. Like, what if I was an immunocompromised person and...
I wouldn't go.
Go where? I'm saying my kids still need daycare. My kids still need to go to school. And my kids can still bring it home and give it to me.
No. I'm responding to this person's thing about large gatherings. I'm thinking concerts, circus,
sure,
whatever
I'm just saying
I just wouldn't go.
I understand that, but you're basically saying, well, if you're immunocompromised, then you just need to evaluate your risk and you need to live appropriately. And I'm saying these immunocompromised people need to go to work. They need to send their kids to school. They cannot avoid the risk.
I'm aware of that.
Okay, so
but all you can do is what you can do.
I understand.
We can't
and so
be
what I'm
wearing
saying
masks
is once we get to the
forever.
point where it's at an endemic stage,
yes,
and
that's what I mean.
At the minimum, people who are at a high risk, if they do get it, which it'll be less likely that they get it, because in theory, when it's endemic, there will be less cases, there'll be less community transmission. But if they do get it, at a fucking bare minimum,
you
they
have
have access to
hospital.
healthcare.
But what I'm saying to you is, if the unvaccinated people are preventing this from becoming endemic,
yes,
there needs to be an
Right.
adjustment.
Right.
There needs to be a
They're at fault,
reevaluation of how to
right.
address this.
Their life should have to adjust before the immunocompromised person has to
Or
crawl
the
into a hole.
hospitals have to say, you wait.
That's what I mean by them being the ones to have to
Yes.
adjust and having to deal with the consequences of their
You
choice.
have to wait.
Yeah, I
to be
know. This
treated.
is a really,
I know.
this is a really sticky ethical discussion.
Good.
But
What other responses did we get?
so there were several people who mentioned the lack of vaccination for children under 5 is very frustrating. We totally get that. We were completely heartbroken. Was it last week or the week before where they had the meeting scheduled for February 15th? They were going to, present the data.
We thought it was going to pass.
Well, yeah, we assumed. Well, that's what they were saying.
They
They're
were
having the meeting on the
advertising it as
15th and
beginning of March.
Beginning of March, shots
Yeah.
will start going out. Like we were like, this is perfect. Like they'll be fully vaccinated by the end of the 90 or 120-day window. And then like 3 days before the meeting was scheduled, they were like, just kidding, never mind.
So I remember saying to you, I'd be a lot more upset if we didn't just have it.
Right. Exactly.
I'd be a lot more upset.
Absolutely. Yep.
And no disrespect to those parents that are upset. You should be upset.
Oh, I still am upset. But this could be a whole nother episode probably. I'm upset, but I also understand. Like part of me is like,
it was just
I'm
a
glad
cock
that they're
tease.
doing right. I'm glad that they're doing their due diligence.
Right.
To make sure there's enough data to make sure it's done right the first time, because the issue would have been if they found out that even with the third dose, the dosage wasn't high enough to produce an immune response, they would have basically be going back to square one.
Yeah.
So if there needs to be a dosage adjustment, that's a real issue. So yeah, I'm frustrated that they announced it and then changed their mind. It's the flip-flopping that pissed me off.
Yeah.
Not the process itself, but
Which also, now that I think about it, once this is approved, and there are undoubtedly going to be parents that are reluctant or hesitant to give their child the vaccine, I still think, harping back on if you're not vaccinated, you need to wait at the hospital. I don't think that should apply to children.
no, because they can't be vaccinated.
Yeah, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. They have no choice in the matter.
Or if they're unvaccinated minors and their parents won't vaccinate
That's
them.
what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You should still be able to get treated because you have no choice.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
I
know we got one. We got a decently sized one.
Oh, what did you want? I was just kind of summarizing the points that were in that one.
Oh,
'cause
okay,
It's kind of related to some of the other ones that we
Yeah.
got, but yeah, there's a lot of so one thing I did notice that, and this is sort of just anecdotal, I didn't like dive in to connect the answers to the people who answered
Sure.
the polls specifically, but from the few that I did catch on and recognize, I felt like there was a pattern emerging of the people who were more likely to say that their feelings have changed in that they are feeling a little bit more comfortable and doing more things are the people who have just had COVID,
Yeah.
which makes sense. I mean, that's where we are. So the people who were saying things like their feelings are complicated, they're dealing with things on a case-by-case basis, they're kind of just waiting to see how case numbers, trend over the next few weeks. There were a lot of people who said things like they're still comfortable when they know the vaccination status of the people around them. But they still mask when they're close contact with someone or in a public place.
Such individuals did not get COVID.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those were all the people who have not yet had COVID.
Good for you.
And because right, and that's exactly how I would have answered.
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago,
yeah.
whatever, before I had it. So I completely get that, and I feel like that's a very appropriate way to respond. There was one that was well, so and then there was a bunch of the whole like feeling burnt out from protecting other people, which we just covered. That's a very common feeling. There was one that was really interesting that gave me pause. I had to think about it for a while. And I think it's an interesting kind of pivot from what we were just talking about. Is that this feeling of all the anger and frustration that they have felt towards unvaccinated people over the last year or so has turned to compassion and sadness rather than anger.
Yeah, I can't get there. Sorry.
So Well, and actually, I should maybe I should just read it because I think part of it is maybe
Just
it's not compassion for the unvaccinated themselves, but for the people who are losing loved ones because they're
just read it.
unvaccinated. Okay, well, um, I held a lot of frustration and anger towards the unvaccinated for a long time, and it's taken me pretty much up until about 2 months ago to finally let it go. I actually now feel the opposite. I have a lot of love for these people, and I genuinely believe that most of them are good people with good hearts and have been severely misguided. I believe that most of them truly do not understand what their choice actually means. I know personally from several people in my life who have lost loved ones to COVID who were unvaccinated. My heart goes out to them and compassion is not lost. Majority of my family is not vaccinated and I worry every day that I might lose one of them unexpectedly.
I can get there minus the love part, but I understand the sentiment.
Well,
I can get
like
there
this person
saying,
still loves their family.
I'm saying strangers.
Sure.
You know, and I don't even know if that's what that person meant, but I agree with they're just being misled, they're being fed misinformation, and
Yeah.
it's, fear, scare tactics, what have you. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I also agree that they do not understand the gravity of their choice.
Right.
I get it. That doesn't mean I have to be forgiving.
Or it doesn't mean that you have to change. You have to continue to alter your life so severely.
I'm not
to cater for
forgiving
that.
to those that smoke cigarettes. You know exactly what you're doing, and if you don't, the information is right fucking there.
Yeah. Well, that's a little bit different because, like you said, the information is right there. There's no
people have died as a result of cigarette smoking directly.
Right. I'm saying, but
there have been companies that have purged that. I know now.
There's no debate on whether or not smoking is good for you.
I get it,
bad
but the
for you.
same entities that are saying cigarette smoking is bad for you, this like CDC,
Yeah.
Surgeon Generals, are the same people that are saying you will
I
die.
know.
It's the same fucking source.
I understand. I'm just saying there's not really anyone out there who would try to argue that smoking is good for your health.
No,
but there are sources of not reliable ones, but
Right.
there are other entities saying the vaccine will kill you.
My point is that the solid, robust information regarding the risks of not being vaccinated for COVID, that sort of information is as easily accessible.
I understand, but it's this crazy phenomenon of like hearing one person say the opposite, and if this person has any letters after the end of their name, like they have an RN or an MD or like whatever combination of letters, you don't even know what the fuck it means. You just know that they call themselves a doctor and they go on the, I don't know, like Joe Rogan podcast and they spew all this bullshit anti-vax stuff and people think, oh, I should think about this a little bit more. This doctor says that this vaccine might harm me.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't matter how many reliable sources
I
say
can
otherwise.
get there for I feel bad for that type of person that buys, like,
Yes.
I pity you.
Yes.
I don't love you. Like, as a person.
I know what you mean.
I respect you. I don't want anything to happen to you,
Mm-hmm.
but I do not feel that overwhelming compassion.
To the point of having to right. I'm not going to sacrifice my life
Yeah.
for people in that position.
And
although
whoever,
I
don't
like,
even know who said that. You're a better person than I am then.
I
Maybe.
mean,
I don't know.
So I do feel like it's like there's like I'm not going to alter the way I'm living my life to cater to the people who are falling victim to this type of disinformation and misinformation. And we've talked before about how we interact with people on social media. Like there's the unfollow, unfriend, like
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like when I see someone who is falling victim to this, and if it's someone that I care about, especially, it's like I want to try to like, even though I know a lot of times it's like fruitless, but.
No, you're just not on the list anymore, dude. That's it. I will talk to you if I see you. I'm not going to shut you out, but you're just.
Well, I guess I'm saying my level of compassion goes that far, at least.
Sure.
That like I will try to have a conversation and try to, steer them back, like depending on how far down the rabbit hole they are too.
Okay. What else we got?
Hold on. I went to open that other message. Yeah, I think that was pretty much summarizing all of them. There were a lot of common themes, common threads throughout, and I think we've touched on all of them now. Yeah, I guess the one thing that we didn't really like get into in detail that I think is kind of its own distinct conversation. Is about people being frustrated with school closures or quarantines, because even though schools are dropping mask mandates, at least for us here in our state next month, I don't know if they're still going to be doing contact tracing and quarantining, or if they're going to be doing test to stay, or like no idea how that's being handled. So I think that will be an interesting piece of how people feel about specifically about how schools are operating.
Yeah.
Based on this new chapter.
I'm not in a position to. I mean, I have my opinions on it, but I don't know the ins and outs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, because talking about how our feelings have changed towards a lot of things, and a lot of our personal risk tolerance is a little bit different. I wouldn't even say it's changed, like it's permanent. I'm saying right now, at this moment in time, because of our situation, is different. But like I've been really frustrated with like parents who refuse to send their kids with masks to school and stuff like that at our daycare because it's optional. And I've been, writing to our Department of Health and stuff. Like,
of course
like I've been kind of, like really passionate about this. Yeah. And because I just feel like our kids are so vulnerable because they can't be vaccinated, and it's frustrating that other people aren't trying to protect them when, that's the job of the daycare. But like, I want to know how things are going to happen with schools, because right now I don't feel super strongly about people wearing masks or about our daughter wearing a mask, because again, I feel like she's pretty well protected because she just had it.
We'll probably have a better picture about that come August. They're probably waiting for this school year to end.
Maybe.
And then there's a more than good chance that by summer at the latest, it's going to be available to children in our children's age group.
Oh, yeah.
So come
But even
August,
K through 12, I'm curious to see how the dropping of the mask mandate affects cases in schools and affects
my point is that they're probably going
stuff.
to add that to the list of vaccines that you need to have in order to attend schools.
For teachers and students, you think?
Yes.
I hope so. I don't know what the delay is on requiring it for
I think
teachers.
Mid-year, it might be a little challenging. I
mean, it was FDA approved in September.
I don't know. I'm just saying that I'd put money down that start of school year 2022 into 2023.
Maybe.
Probably going to do it.
Well, if anyone's out there and wants to join me in emailing the Department of Health, ask them what the fuck is taking so long to require it for daycare teachers, at least.
Yeah.
Go ahead, because they're sick of hearing from me.
This is what I like about our interactions with the listeners, because I go into this blind from the messages. I don't know who
you don't look
what,
at the polls,
so I like to go back and then
see who said what.
Who said what, right? But shout out to Sarah, because I did the same thing. I ended up deactivating the Facebook, and I removed the Instagram app from my phone. The next step,
and you already didn't have the Facebook app.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, I did not have the Facebook app. I deleted Messenger from my phone too.
Wow.
So
what are the guys in your fantasy league gonna do?
I have it downloaded on my work desktop, so I pop in there every once in a while.
Good use of your work.
Oh, it's usually just during the break.
I know.
I only.
But still,
pop in
no.
there
But
a
I'm
little
saying,
bit.
like, that group is so used to having access to each other 24/7. You guys talk all the time.
I understand. I feel like they're
gonna be worried about you if you don't reply until Monday morning.
I especially got rid of Instagram because that was my biggest doom scroll.
Yeah. Really?
And
more so than Twitter?
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised.
I will not delete Twitter because just
don't
because
you
of the
scroll
sports.
on Twitter all the time?
It's investigative,
Okay,
especially when it
useful
comes to
information
sports.
to you.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I rely on
sense.
that for breaking news when it comes to sports.
But Instagram is just a waste of your time. Yeah.
I don't care. I don't post anything really.
Yeah.
So I think that's the next to be deactivated.
Good for you.
Yeah. So I'm getting there. There was this magazine or whatever that was challenging individuals to, they would pay someone $2,000 to delete all social media from their phone for 2 months or thereabouts, which includes YouTube. And I can't delete YouTube.
Why? What the fuck are you watching on YouTube?
Usually that's what I'm listening
a workout
to.
video. Oh, you use it for music and stuff?
When I clean.
Yeah, but you do know that you can get that from like
it's
Apple
like
Music or Spotify.
YouTube videos that you're supposed to watch, and I just listen. that aren't podcasts.
Also, for 2 months, you could listen to other music.
I know. And
Where's
there
that
are
$2,000?
there
What
are
you
workout.
doing?
No, you have to be accepted. It's not just anybody.
Yeah, but still, did you even apply?
No,
All right, I'll
no.
do it.
It's too late.
I can
It's
do
way
it.
too late.
You just have to take over the podcast
It's
social
too
media.
All right. That being said, we're gonna end it here. Next episode, don't know what will be next week. Next episode,
Hopefully we'll be here. We've
Yeah.
been fucking flaky all over the place.
I do want to talk about the death of baseball.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of you are probably, oh, fucking baseball. That's the point.
Right.
That's the point. So all you people, oh, fucking baseball, this is going to be boring. I want to hear from you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to know your opinion. To me, the most beautiful game that was ever invented. Because I agree with you at this point.
And that's from someone who's not a huge sports person. Baseball has been my favorite sport my whole life.
It pains me. I feel like I'm saying goodbye to a family member that's dying.
I think the fact that we haven't really been able to go to a baseball game in a
It's
couple
not
of years.
just that. It's the
is
whole
contributing.
perception and the public.
I know. I just think it's compounded. But
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to talk about
And
next
the
week.
lockout. Anyways, all right. So that's next on the agenda. So if you wanted to touch base with us, touch base with us.
Oh,
not
and I'm
even
the one.
late.
I'm the one
Well, it's
drinking
late
wine.
for us. It's 9:15.
Oh yeah, it's late.
If you want to touch base with us regarding your experience with COVID, assuming you had it, or if you know someone that had it, or if you didn't have it yet and you're starting to ease yourself back in,
Or if you're
specifically-
frustrated that everybody else is moving on.
Yeah, specifically in Rhode Island, we'd like to hear from you. You can hit up Cindy on the socials because I fucking don't have them anymore.
Yep, we're on Instagram at While She's Napping.
All right, yeah, we can just not mention the page.
Yep. No.
Hit us up on the Insta or my Finsta.
Oh my god.
I've never had a Finsta. Maybe I should get a Finsta.
Oh man.
Anyways, till next time. Talk to you later.
Bye.